Welcome to the Satsang, to Mt.Madonna, once again. I think there are some people who come for the Satsang for the first time. Maybe you have come to Mt.Madonna before, but so here we, hi. So we see some old friends here. Let me first do the invocation before we start the Satsang. And the invocation today is connected to the subject that we are going to deal with. It's actually the Shanti Mantra of the Upanishad which we are going to deal with. You always need to have a Shanti Mantra because the ultimate aim is to find peace, Shanti, right? So, this is an ancient mantra. We will explain, of course. We'll go into it. The mantra is Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamaduchyate Purnasya Purnamathaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. So, sometimes one wonder why in the present circumstances when we are in this new world, so-called, with all its skyscrapers and all its wonderful internet and the big god Google with a capital G going on, why would we go back to the ancient scriptures? Because one would like to say, is there any practical way to get out, to become happy and so on. But why go back to an ancient scripture? Because the subject today, tomorrow and day after, this is just an introduction, mind you. Tomorrow and day after is the Ishavasya Upanishad, which at very conservative estimates would be around 2000 years old, maybe. Definitely 1500 and beyond. We won't get into that, but it's an ancient scripture. So why would we go back there? Instead of saying, breathe in and breathe out and you're free or something like that. Which I can do, of course, very easy to do. You can do it very easily too. But we need to figure out why we breathe in and why we breathe out. And what's it that we seek? Right, we all seek something. You wouldn't come all the way to Mt.Madonna just because it's fun. There must be something inside you which says, hey, let's find out, let's figure out. Right? So, therefore, it's wonderful to go back because the Upanishads, we'll have about an hour of introduction now. After that, we'll become real serious from tomorrow. Okay? I know that many people are expecting to have Kriya Yoga initiation. I know that. So we'll come to that. But let's build up the foundation first. Okay? There's no point in doing Kriya if you don't know why you're doing it. Certainly not to fly up in the air or walk on water, but So, so let's. I think my diction has improved over the years. Yeah, because I've been wandering around the United States for many years now. So the Upanishads are, as I said, ancient. And they're among the purest teachings because many years after the Upanishads, which are part of the Vedas, came the other writings like the Agamas, the Puranas, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, the Gita, even the Bhagavad Gita, which is part of Mahabharata, and the various agamas and other scriptures that we have, they are of a later origin. The earliest, the essence of are the Upanishads because they are part of the four Vedas. Right? Now, the most ancient probably textbooks known that take you into the enquiry of the reality. Who you are, where you stand, what are we, where are we going, what's all this going on, are perhaps the Vedas. And the last part of the Vedas are the philosophical explanations of the hymns which are there in the Vedas. So as I know many of you know that the Vedas have been divided by Vyasa, the great Rishi Vyasa, into Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda. You don't have to remember. That's 4 Vedas. Earliest being the Rig Veda. Now, when you say Vedas, normally we think of the first portion, which is the Samhita. It's called the Samhita, mostly hymns and chantings. But that's not so. It includes other things. We come to that. For instance, the Vedas, the Rig Veda, in the 125th section, Mandala, has a mantra which has become very famous throughout the world. Anybody, any guess? 4 slokas, small mantra, Gayatri. And the originator of Gayatri, Rishi Vishwamitra, was here just now. His name was Vishwamitra. Now Vishwamitra is interesting because Vishwa means the universe and Mitra means friend. Friend of the universe. Was the great Rishi who gave the Gayatri, and I think he really is a friend of the universe because he gave us something very valuable, the Gayatri Mantra. Now the Gayatri Mantra can be chanted, of course, then it's still the Samhita portion. But when you go into the explanation of what it is, then it becomes Upanishad. You get what I'm trying to say? Okay. So the Samhita portions, the hymns, then there is the other section of the Vedas, also Vedas, called the Brahmanas. Now the Brahmanas are those sections, nothing to do with Brahmins. Brahmanas are those sections which deal with ceremonies, the ceremonial aspects of day-to-day ceremonies, which of course includes practices, because practices also are in some way ceremonies. You strip the ceremonial part and you are left with practices. Right. So, from the Brahmanas, you come to the next part of the Vedas. I'm saying all this because you need a background before we go into it, actually. It will be much simpler, don't worry. And don't try to by heart anything, not required. So, from the Brahmanas, you come to the next section, which is called the Aranyaka. Now, you know, an Aranya means the forest. So, Aranyakas are those parts of the Vedas which were taught in the forest academies. I think this also looks like a forest academy to me, where the rishis retired into the forest. Believe me, I can't find a single unmarried rishi. They retired into their forest, often with their wives. I mean, if they were okay with that. For instance, the great sage Yajnavalkya, who appears frequently in the Vedic narrative, and especially in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which is the biggest Upanishad available to us. It's very interesting, the name. See, the problem is people have forgotten this language called Sanskrit. So they don't know what Brihad Aranyaka, which means the big forest. Which means it's like a maze. If you don't guide it properly, you go in and go round and round, not knowing where you have to come out. Brihadar is one. So in that you again meet Yajnavalkya, the great rishi, who when he is going away to the Aranya, to the forest, says to his wife, Maitri, hello, not this way. I'm going into the forest. What do you want to do? She says, if you are going into the forest to inquire about something serious, I have the right also to know, so I'm coming with you. See? So those textbooks which were studied, there were no books. Most of the Vedas were learned by heart and repeated by rote. It's very lately that it started to be written. So those parts of the Vedas which were studied in the forest were known as the Aranyakas. Now, if you look at this, from the Aranyaka, there is a last portion which deals only with the deepest philosophy of the Vedas, and that is the Upanishad. So, if you imperceptibly from the Aranyaka comes the Upanishad. It's difficult to divide. Some Upanishads are also called Aranyakas. So, the Ishavasya Upanishad that we are going to deal with tomorrow comes from the second Veda, Yajurveda. In the Yajurveda, I know you don't have to study all this, but it's good to say before. The Yajurveda has many parts, and one of them is called Vajasneyi Samhita. The Vajasneyi Samhita, there are 40 chapters. The last chapter, 40th chapter, is the Ishavasya Upanishad. Now, this is why it is called Vedanta, because it comes at the end of the Vedas. Veda, Anta means end. So that's why it's called Vedanta. It's also called Vedanta because the understanding is when the Upanishad is properly understood, there's an end to all learning because there is nothing more remains to be learned. And this is what it means. Not that you stop learning, but that you discover that all that you aim in learning has been fulfilled. And therefore is the end. So therefore it's called Vedanta also. Okay? So there are many Upanishads. I think more than 108 or more Upanishads. However, the earliest Upanishads are 11 in number, and they are the most important because all the great teachers, the acharyas, who interpreted the Upanishads, have all commented on them. They are the 11 principal Upanishads, starting from Shankara to Ramanuja to Madhva to Nimbarka to Bhaskaracha. There were hundreds of commentaries. So they are very important, which is why they are always trying to interpret it in their own manner. If I'm a non-dualist, I want it that way. If I'm a dualist, I want it that way. But that they all show a keen interest in it. Means that it's such an important part of the Upanishad. So these are the 11 principal Upanishads, of which one is the Ishavasya. It's a very short Upanishad, I think about 22 verses or so. And now the word Upanishad, what could the word Upanishad mean? We have... you can divide it into 3 syllables actually. The first is Upa. The second is Ni. And the last is Shad. Upa, Ni, Shad. Okay? Now, what does Upa mean? Upa means close. When I say close, it means not closed, but near. C-L-O-S-E, but it also means near. N-E-A-R, near. So Upa means near. Going close in many meanings. One is sitting close to the teacher and learning the truth. In fact, it was such an intimate affair, I don't think any rishi sat with 100 people learning the Upanishad. Maybe 1 or 2 sitting down. It has its own special significance, very intimate between 2 people, sitting together, facing each other, sitting near to each other. In fact, it was such a private affair that it was called the Rahasya, the secret. You don't have to shout, and there was no microphones, of course. So you just sit face to face and study this carefully. And so therefore, you go close to the teacher. Now, close to the teacher also means, and this is very interesting, you might sit very close to the teacher, you might go and sit on the teacher's lap, but it makes no sense if your mind is not close to his or her mind. Very important to note. Upa also means that the mind, that your wavelength and my wavelength have somehow come together and have attained the same frequency so that you learn what I know. Not even through the words, but just by the fact that we are together. You know what I mean. I have personal experience in this matter. Many experiences. Okay. Thank you. But I can tell you one of these. I was for some years with my master, my teacher, Maheswarnath Babaji. Of course, belonged to the Nath Sampradaya. And very often I learnt many things, not when he taught, but deliberately, but in the midst of something else. It's very interesting. Once we were in a small little Tibetan tea shop on the walk towards Kailash. And we sat down, and this Tibetan guy was making tea. Tibetan tea is different from our tea. So Babaji went into a complete description of the origin of tea and said, "Do you know that it came from China?" I said, "No, I don't." And then he gave me the different teas, how they taste and what to do and how. Now I was listening so intensely to this, what he was saying, not intensely but intently to what he was saying. After a while, my mind was along almost the same as, I don't know, the wavelength, the frequency probably was the same, and something which I was trying hard in the morning to crack regarding the Yoga Shastras, the Yoga Sutras, suddenly became clear. And Babaji said, this has happened because at the moment you didn't apply any effort, but your mind was clear and clean. So what was in my mind came into yours. You get? So therefore, Upa also has that sense that you are together not physically. You don't have to now, with the age of microphones and internet, you don't have to sit close, especially in summer. If the mind gets close, it's enough. So this is what it means. So Upa. In India, when people fast, they say Upavasa is the word used. Upavas. What does it mean? It doesn't mean fasting. I mean, it's part of the ritual, but it means moving towards the higher or moving closer to the reality or to God. This is what it means. Upavasa, traveling towards the nearness. So, this is Upa. Then you have the last, I'll come to the middle later. You have the last syllable, which is Shad. Upanishad. Now, Shad, Sanskrit words have many meanings. Two major important meanings of Shad. One is sit. Shad. Now, when you say Shad, it means that you are sitting down now, here before me. When one of you gets up, I know that you've been distracted. You're going. Shad, sit. So when you're sitting, I know that now you're listening to me. Right? Now, it also means you can physically sit here, but your mind can go to Hollywood. So, it also means that your mind also has sat down, settled down. So, Shad also means that the mind has also settled down. Because what we are going to discuss is so fine and subtle that if the mind hasn't settled down, it's difficult to grasp. Right? So, Shad means settling down without distractions and sitting close and listening. Now, one of the earliest commentators on the Upanishads was Adi Shankaracharya. Now, he because of his extensive knowledge in the language of Sanskrit, found another meaning for shad. He said it means to shake up. So shake up what? So the learning of the Upanishad begins when you have shaken up all the existing conclusions and ideas that you have already formed in your mind. I'm sure people who have never seen me before, if they're seeing me for the first time, you might have had an opinion about how I would look. Maybe a robe, maybe rosaries, maybe something here. I love this, but I'm not wearing it. So then you see me coming in with a shirt and pants and sitting down before you. So, if you can set away all the preconceived ideas and conclusions that we have created with our mind, this is called shaking up. It also means to look at something in an extraordinarily new way, to turn things upside down. It's funny, but if you can turn your logic topsy-turvy, you have found the source. There is a beautiful chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, which again is a Vedantic text and a yogic text. And the 15th chapter is called the Purushottama Yoga, the yoga of the Supreme Reality. It begins beautifully by saying, Urdhvamulam mathashakam ashvatham not to be by hearted, ashvatham prahurabhya. I had no other job, so I Chandam siyasya paranani yastam veda savid, which means, Krishna says, there is an upside down tree whose roots are up above and branches down below. When you understand the leaves, you will probably go to the roots. Now this upside down brain, meaning what? That you put your ordinary thinking on its head. You know what is ordinary thinking? Generally linear thinking. Something is here, and I want it, and I need. What if something that I seek is here and everywhere? How do I find it? So, shaking up the thought process and saying perhaps what we believe may not be the truth. May not be, that's enough. Suspend the judgment. When you find out, you can decide if it's true or not, but at least shake up that safety and security that we have built, not only around our physical being, but also in our mind. It says, this is my rational framework, it is absolutely right, and if anybody breaks it, I'm lost. So, I believe in such and such a thing, if that is broken, then I'm lost. Then it can't be the truth, because truth can never be lost, whoever breaks it in whatever way. So, shad also means to shake up. It also means to shake you up shake us up from the sleep of ignorance to knowledge. Asato ma sadgamaya, take me from the unreal to the real. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, take me from darkness to light. So, shaking up is to change your perspectives and see what you think is real to be actually not so real. And what you think is not real, maybe it's real. I'm just opening up the process, not concluding anything, okay? It's not a good idea to conclude, especially as soon as you begin. We have 2 days to go. So, this is shad. Then there is this middle syllable called ni. Ni. You know how important the ni is? K-N-E-E. So, ni, this is not that ni. Ni is the word, the expression used to denote the connection between the teacher and the taught. If you know Hindi, the word niche means down, comes from ni. The root is ni, which means the attitude with which the student sits close to the teacher. What is attitude? An attitude which is by understanding with humility that one doesn't know, therefore one has to learn. Nothing to do with physically where you're sitting. If that's the case, then I would be sitting on a throne now here. You'll be sitting down somewhere. That's not the meaning of it. It means that the attitude of saying that perhaps I don't know, even perhaps is good enough. Perhaps I don't know. So let me receive, and to receive I need to keep space. If I have no space, if I say I know, I've concluded, then there is no way you can receive. So, for instance, if you have a vessel with you, any vessel, V-E-S-S-E-L, and you want to pour something into the vessel, even physically, it's just an example, you can't pour anything into a vessel if you keep it here. Do you think it's going to stay there? It has to be here. And plus, it has to be empty. If it's already full, what can you pour into it? You know, my favorite story, if you have seen YouTube or read my books, but it's worth repeating, so I'm going to say, don't get bored. This is the story of a man who goes to a Zen monk, not a monk, a Zen master, and says, Sir, a professor so well read, he has studied all the scriptures on the Zen teachings and Lao Tse and all that. And so he goes to him and, can you teach me Zen? Or can you give me Satori? No, Satori is the flash of intuition or the flash of nirvana that takes place, the culmination of Zen. You can call it nirvana or Satori or Kaivalya according to yoga, or moksha, or whatever you want to call it. So in Zen it is Satori. He said, can you give me Satori? Please give me Satori. Teach me how to reach there. So the master says, oh, sit down. And he goes and makes some tea and brings his kettle, puts the table there, puts the cup in the middle of the table and starts pouring the tea inside. And this professor is wondering, I was asking him a very serious question. Why is he making me drink tea? Such a silly thing to do. Anyway, you can't talk too much to Zen master. They're not like me. You might get kicked out. So he sits quiet. So then he pours the tea, and the tea fills the cup, and the cup starts overflowing, down the tablecloth dripping, and then the professor couldn't hold himself anymore. He says, sir, the cup is overflowing. So the Zen master puts the kettle down and says, your cup is overflowing. How can I give you Zen? Because if you put Zen, it will also come out, because it's already full with all that he had studied from the books. So therefore, Ni is the attitude which comes out of humility, from understanding that perhaps I don't know, let me listen. You know what happens when you listen to somebody? We don't listen 100%, because we have listened to so much before or read so much. So when you listen, half the time the mind is comparing. So and so said this guy is saying this, what is right, is that wrong, is that... So the energy of listening is only there 50% maybe. The rest of the 50% is comparing, judging. You see what I mean? So if you can listen, and in fact, nobody knows everything. It's very difficult to say, I know everything. And that's one of the problems with the teachers, because somehow the public has built up the the image that they know everything. They are omniscient. So it's very shameful to say, I don't know. But all knowledge starts when I say, I don't know. Look at the scientific world. All the new discoveries in science came because somebody said, I'm not sure, I don't know. Let me look into this. If I said, oh yeah, I know, it's like that. There's no movement. There's no discovery. There is no exploration. So, to understand this attitude that the beginning of understanding the truth is first to know that we don't know. Can I look into this? And even if the teacher knows, he should say with the student who is sitting, I don't know. Because if both start from that point, it might be able to build up and go where you are, where you want to go. That requires a lot of humility. Because to say I don't know is a terrible thing to say. Right? But it's the most wonderful thing to have. So, if you put these three syllables together, you have the Upanishad. So of the 11 Upanishads, we are going to look at tomorrow the Ishavasya Upanishad, which is around 22 slokas. We may not go to all the slokas one by one, but we'll take up the important ones, well, what I think are important. If you think something else is important, you are free to say so, and then go into this step by step. And then when you come to the practical aspect of it, it's just theory, okay, we find this, then we'll go to Kriya Yoga. Not before that. We need to lay a foundation. And I would prefer the foundation is laid from the ancient works which are already there than from some newfangled work. So that's why I want to take the Upanishads. So, the Ishavasya Upanishads, Shanti Mantra, which I chanted just now. No? What was that? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamaduchyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Avishishya. You don't have to by heart it, but it's nice to by heart it. Because Sanskrit has a certain sound which is, I think, more interesting than English or Hindi or some other language. So, let's look at this Shanti. And it's specifically fixed for the Ishavasya Upanishad. Each Upanishad has a Shanti mantra. Look at the word Purna. Purnamada. That is complete. What will come? That is complete. Purnam Idam. This is complete. Or here, if you don't want to show, here. This is complete. Purnat Purnamaduchyate. From that completeness has come this completeness, not incompleteness, completeness. Purnasya Purnamathaya. If you take this completeness, if this completeness has come out of that completeness, still the original completeness has not been reduced. It's still the same completeness that it was, always. This is the mantra. The literal translation would be, that is complete, this is complete, this complete has come from that complete. Even after this has come out of that, that remains the same. There is no change. Well, physically people understand this now, after Einstein found his theory of relativity and said the energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. Physics, yes. But internally, how do we look at this? This is the question. We can start with the psychology of it and go towards the understanding of it. Because from the physical to the psychological and then from there to the spiritual would be the right way to move. From the gross to the subtle to the subtler. Yeah. So, what is Purnamada? Look, we'll keep Purnamada outside. What is the word Purna? It means completeness or fullness. You can use both words. Fullness, completeness, totality is called Purna. Right? So, the Rishi says that the supreme source from which this entire universe started, or came forth from, manifested, whatever you want to say, is actually by its very nature complete or full. So that doesn't mean anything to us. It can be full, so what? Then he says, Purnamidam, you or we or this world which has come from that is also by its real nature full. It's not incomplete, it's complete. We don't see it, of course. And this has come from that. And yet it remains the same. Now you look at it carefully. What is this life that we live on this earth? There is a built-in tendency in all minds and psyches, in our brain, to attain what we think is completeness. I feel I'm incomplete all the time. Right? I feel I'm not full, I'm empty. So what do? I try to fill it. How? This material world, how do I fill it? To pleasures, to entertainment, to gaining money or a job or a career. But it's unending, because if I become the boss, I suddenly realize there's a boss above me. So I'm aiming to complete myself, but this completion process never ends till finally we rest in peace. And then we don't know if we are complete or not, because we are laid to rest 6 feet under the earth. That's the end of it. R.I.P., rest in peace. Now, my master said R.I.P. also means rise if possible. So here you are. So the attempt, the whole of this expansion of universe, of movement in our lives, earning for something, they're all the attempt of the mind which thinks it is not complete, trying to complete itself. When I'm alone and not married, I think if I marry, I'll become complete. When I get married, am I complete? I don't know. You have to ask the married people. And I think if I marry and also have a girlfriend, maybe I will be complete. No, you can ask yourself. It goes, it's unending. There's no end to this. I think if I have this much money in the bank, I'm complete. But no, need to increase it. Increase it. It never works. Right? So, there is this innate desire to find completeness. Or fulfillment, let's put it that way. Fulfillment. But somehow, it doesn't seem to work. Because if it works, we would have finished with it and become fulfilled and do nothing more. But it doesn't. We keep moving. This is the whole of this movement of this earth. Evolution. Everything is this. The single cellular organism, in its attempt to become complete, has become many cells. Multiple celled organisms. And we are the ones who have the maximum number of complex cell structures, not only in the brain but also in the body. And we are so therefore seeking more completeness. It's quite natural. I'm not saying it's not natural. It's quite natural. The Rishi says that completeness from which you've come is actually your true essence. Inside you is that completeness. So if you turn the direction of your search, not that you have to have a job, you have to work, I understand all that. But having done that, if you begin to understand that this completeness or fullness or fulfillment that you seek is there right here in you and not anywhere outside. Whatever you add from outside is not going to help. It may help temporarily, of course. You see this? What happens? I have a TV in my house. I want to make it big. Because I went to a neighbor's house, it was some huge. So I go to the bank or wherever I have to go, I don't know. I don't practice this, so I don't understand. So anyway, then I buy this huge thing, and I fit it there. And then actually I'm a little happy for some time. We can't deny that. Why? Because temporarily I have fulfilled myself. So what we fail to understand, that this happiness is not because I've got a new TV, but that the mind feels it is fulfilled. Because of that. The rishis turned around and asked this question, maybe that fulfillment has nothing to do with the TV. When did you feel happy? When you stopped craving. Why? Because you already had it. But it doesn't stop there, because you'll find another curved TV somewhere else, and then it's unending. But when are you happy? When you have, for the time being, stopped craving. So it's the stopping of the craving that is the root of happiness. This is what the Rishi is trying to say. Therefore, the Purna, or the completeness of this entire universe, this complex universe, a spark of that is also in you. And if you can go in and look at it, instead of searching for it outside, you'll probably find it. And when you find it, then you have achieved completeness. You suddenly realize that and this are not different. The Vedas declare, Tattvamasi, you're that. You're not this. So, this understanding comes through the study of the Upanishads. Therefore, the Shanti mantra for this Upanishad is Purnamada Purnamidam. That it's complete, it's completeness, and you need to realize that you're not a limited little fellow caught up in his own little narrow cycle and a petty selfishness, but something greater and bigger that you expand. How does the mind expand? If I look after my children, well, it's good, of course, because there are some who don't. It's good, but no big deal. The monkeys also do that. If I look after somebody else's child, then I'm growing. So, if I move from my center and look at others, very often we suffer because we think we are the only fellows suffering. There are millions of people suffering at the same time when I'm suffering. My child has died, or something has happened to me. Just look around. In this world, millions of places this has happened. When I see that, my grief is nothing. It's so big. You see? So this expansion, this growing, this realizing that in true essence you are completeness itself, and that you're laboring under some kind of illusion that you're so small. In fact, that is the ancient rishis' way of saying, think big. Don't stay small, because you're not small, you're big. So it's a very positive, brave, courageous movement towards the truth. And naturally, when you want to find something so important, on the way there might be obstacles, naturally. Aren't there obstacles in our normal way of life? No? Yes? But we're ready to overcome them, right? In the same way, if you say this is so serious and important that I have to find it, then you will be able to face your obstacles. Please don't worry, it's not such a terrible thing. Somewhere along the line, people have begun to think that to be spiritual is to deprive yourself of everything. Oh, it's so... No. It's beautiful. This is what I'm trying to say. Isn't it wonderful to see beauty everywhere? We can't shut our eyes, right? I see a beautiful lady, oh, I should be... Its beauty is an expression of that completeness. Okay? Now, the problem is not in enjoying or appreciating what you see with your eyes, or hear with your ears, or taste with your tongue. The problem starts when I want to acquire it for myself only and put it in my pocket exclusively. That's where the problem starts. Otherwise, there is no problem. Right? So, this is where the problem starts. When you love something, but you love it, it's fine where it is. Actually, let me confess, I love cars. But doesn't mean that I need to own them, right? If you sit in a beautiful car and go, I'm enjoying it. It's beautiful for you. I don't have to sit there. My friend Naresh has a nice BMW. I enjoy sitting in. He looks nice sitting there. I don't have to. I know this is a different way of thinking. But if you start thinking a little bit on these lines, then you're free. There's no jealousy then. The worst disease one can have is jealousy. It's very funny because there's nothing happening to me. Somebody is happy and I'm very unhappy. In fact, in my native Kerala, where I come from, we have a beautiful saying. It says, Kashandikkum kushumbinum marinilla. That means there is no medicine for two diseases. One is jealousy and the other is baldness. So don't trust all those ads. Wigs are better than wasting money on them. So I forgot and went to the bald guy. Say,
Spiritually you can acquire.
Yes. So therefore, yes, you're right. So we are listening. Yeah. So this is the thing that we are going to study from tomorrow, trying to figure out, are we really full? Is fulfillment inside or outside? What is it that we seek and how can we find it? Do we really seek at all? So these are some of the questions. Hopefully when we leave the retreat you will be fulfilled, I hope. I'll try my best, you try your best. We'll work together on this. Because this seeking is something that needs cooperation from you, and we have to do it together. In fact, the old Rigvedic sloka says, Sangachatvam, Samvedatvam, Samvo Manam Sijanatam, which means may we walk together, Samvedatvam, may we study together, Samvo Manam Sijanatam, let us put our minds together and understand. Neither I am important nor you, or we are equally important. Then we have the Upanishad. So I think it's 1 hour now, and
when you were with your master, did you ever have any feelings of jealousy when other people got close to him? Despite how far along on the path you were.
yeah, I had one. I had this good fortune of not seeing too many people around him. So it was difficult to say. However, I wouldn't say I wasn't jealous. I was sometimes, that he would go and spend long hours with so-and-so, somebody, and didn't give me some time, even though for 1 month I've been together with him and all the time with him, and still that 15 minutes, I used to sometimes, I don't know if it's jealousy or something, but I used to feel a little uncomfortable.
So did you get over it?
I think I did.
How?
That's the good news.
And how did you get over it?
I said, this is futile. I said to myself, this is useless. There is no point in wasting your time in this. Why don't I do something so that he gets engaged with me? Instead of worrying about what he's doing with somebody else. I think I succeeded, but you know something, in this spiritual field and also in this life, we have to be constantly on the alert. You have to see how the mind operates. That itself is meditation. Meditation is not only sitting quietly for 1 hour. That's good, of course, it's necessary. Meditation is to be aware of your mind and how it acts in communication with others in this world, and constantly watching it. You'll discover wonderful things. Good or bad, that's a different matter. Variety. So I think I'm free. I'm not. At the moment, yes. Tomorrow, we'll see. So, I don't think we need to have a question answer session now, but no, it's okay.
I love it.
No, it's all
Watch
right.
out.
Absolutely. So, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace.